Students, myself Suresh VS. Welcome back to my channel. Let us continue the lesson The Enemy by Bill S. Buck. So please take page number 31, paragraph 3rd. In the last class we have seen that Hannah was not ready to wash the white man. So immediately she refused, telling that she would not wash as the man was so dirty and she had never washed a white man. By hearing that, Hannah shouted very severely, very strongly, seriously, "You will do what your master commands you. You must do as your master commands you." So she became very angry. There was so fierce a look of resistance upon Yumi's round, dull face that Hannah felt unreasonably afraid. So immediately there was a very severe look, a serious look of opposition. Yumi's face, on her round, dull face changed, and there was a very serious look on appearance on her face. And that Hannah felt unreasonably afraid. And seeing that dangerous look on the face of Yumi, Hannah was really frightened. After all, if the servant should report something that was not as it happened, that was her fear. Suppose these servants, they go and report to the army or police what had happened. From what had happened, they would be in trouble. Sometimes you see that they may report in a different way, not what actually happened. So they would be in trouble. That was their fear. Very well. She said with dignity, and you see, now Hannah changed her face, as well as she changed her seriousness and she became mild and said with respect, "You understand, we only want to bring him to his senses so that we can turn him over as a prisoner." So very well, you see that we want to just bring him to life. He is in an unconscious state. So once he is brought back to his conscious state, we would hand over him to the police. Only that we are going to do. I will have nothing to do with it. I am least bothered about it. Whatever you do, I don't know. I am not concerned about it. You miss it. I am a poor person, that it is not my business. You see, I am a poor person, it's not my business. Whatever you do, but it's not my business. I am not ready to wash him. Then please, Hannah said gently, "Return to your own work. Then please you go back to your work," she said very gently. At once Yumi left the room, but this left Hannah with the white man alone. At once she left the room. Now Hannah is alone in the room with the white man. She might have been too afraid to stay had not her anger at Yumi's stubbornness now sustained her. Actually, Hannah would have left the room, but why? Because she was really afraid to stay there with that white man. But she did not go from there. Why? Because the resistance or the stubbornness or obstinacy or the determination of Yumi that made her to stay there, because she was really angry, and sustained her. Sustained means made to stay there. So her obstinacy or her resistance or opposition that made Hannah to stay there. So she remained in the room. "Stupid Yumi, foolish Yumi," she muttered fiercely. Fierce means violently. So she said very strongly and with great anger, she said, "Oh, foolish Yumi. He is just anything but a man and a wounded helpless man." She is speaking to herself. She is anything but a man only. That also a wounded man. And she should have washed him. In the conviction of her own superiority, she bent impulsively and untied a knot of rags that kept the white man covered. So in the conviction of her own superiority, in the conviction means in the belief of her own greatness What did she do? She bent impulsively. Impulsive means an action done without thinking properly. So without thinking properly, she bent down, thinking that I am greater than her. I am not like this lady. Thinking that she bent down there and started to wash the white man or clean the white man. What did she do? Untied. Untied means opened. The knotted rags. The knotted means entangled. The entangled rags means mat. So she opened the entangled mat that kept the white man covered. With that, the white man was covered. So she opened all this. Okay, or he was uncovered. When she had his breast bare, she dipped the small clean towel that you may have brought into the clean hot water and washed his face carefully. You see that man had his breast bare, that means there was no cloth, nothing. And what did she do? She started cleaning then his body as well as his face with the hot water and the cloth brought by Yumi. The man's skin, though rough with exposure means openness to the weather, was of a fine texture. Texture is structure and must have been very blonde. Blonde means, yes, fair. When he was a child. So while cleaning his body, she thought that due to this bad weather, you see, his body had become rough. But actually, he would have got a fair complexion, a good skin, or good structure or texture while he was young, she thought. While cleaning, she thought this. While she was thinking these thoughts, as she was thinking all these things, you see that though not really liking the man, better now that he was no longer a child. Actually, she did not like the man because he is not a child. Now he is not a child. But she was thinking all these things. She continued her work of cleaning. She kept on washing him until his upper body was quite clean. So the upper body was completely cleaned. She thought that, okay, when in his childhood, he would have got a good skin or a complexion or a fairness. But now he is my enemy. He is an American. He is a white man. She was thinking all these things, and at the same time, she was continuing her work of cleaning. But she dared not to turn him over. So after cleaning the upper part, she did not have the courage to turn him over. Where was Sarah? So for that, she needed the help of Sarah. Then she asked her, where was Sarah? Now her ankle was ebbing. Ebbing means decreasing. And her ankle slowly just started declining or decreasing. She was anxious again and she rose wiping her hands on the wrong towel. Wrong means a dirty towel. She rose up from there and afterwards she cleaned her hand on a dirty towel. Then lest the man be chilled, she put the quilt over him. And then she thought that the man would be chilled or she would feel cold. So she covered again that man with the quilt. Sadova, she called softly. And thereafter she called for Sadova. Very softly she called him. He had been about to come in when she called. His hand had been on the door and now he opened it. She saw that he had brought his surgeon's emergency bag and that he wore his surgeon's coat. Just as she called, immediately Sadova appeared on the door. And you see that he was carrying a bag. Yes, the surgeon's bag with him. And also, he wore a surgeon's coat. He was wearing a surgeon's coat. You were decided to operate, she cried. So after seeing his costume or a surgeon's coat as well as the bag, immediately she asked her, oh, are you going to operate him? Yes, he said shortly. Yes, I am going to do it. He turned his back to her and unfolded a sterilized towel. Sterilized, that is a disinfected towel upon the floor of the Toknoma alcove and put his instruments out upon it. So you see that he opened his bag and she immediately turned his back to her and unfolded a sterilized towel and he opened a sterilized towel, that is disinfected towel, upon the floor. He opened it upon the floor. And afterwards, he took out the things and kept on tokonoma alcove. You see that it's a part of a room. Tokonoma, a neck or an alcove in a Japanese form for displaying a flower arrangement. You can see that like a stand. So like the flower arrangement. And above that, he kept all these things which are needed for the operation. And put his instruments on it. Fetch towels, he said. Then he said, you may go and bring the towels. She went obediently. So without telling a word, she went from there. But she was really anxious or curious now to the linen shelves and put out the towels. She was really curious, anxious. But she went to the cupboard where the linen towels were kept. There ought also to be old pieces of matting so that the blood would not ruin the fine fur covering. She thought about bringing some, mat, old mat, to keep on the floor so that the floor would not get dirty. She was bothered about her. She was really worried about her floor. She thought of keeping some old mat on the floor so that it may not get dirty. She went out to the back veranda to take that. Where did she go? She went out to the back veranda where the gardener kept strips of matting. And you see, there the gardener used to keep long pieces of matting with which to protect the gardener delicate shrubs in cold nights, and took an armful of them. And the old gardener, he used to keep these mattings there to protect the delicate, weak shrubs in the cold seasons. And from there, she had taken an armful of mat so that she can use it. But when she went back into the room, she saw this was useless. So with all these things, she came to the room, and then she found that all these things were useless. There was no use for these things. Why? Because the blood had already soaked through the packing in the man's wound and had ruined the mat under him. Because the blood had already flowed out and it soaked through the nice matting which was already spread on the floor, and it got dirty. Already it was soaked or wet with the blood of this man. So there was no use of bringing these rough mats, and had ruined the mat under him. Oh, the mat, she cried. After seeing her mat got dirty or spoiled, she cried out, oh, my mat. Yes, it is ruined, Sado replied, as though he did not care, as though Sado was not at all cared about the mat. So he was not at all, he was least bothered about the mat got ruined or destroyed. He said, yes, the mat is ruined or destroyed. Help me to turn him, he commanded. So he is giving order to you, Hannah. You just turn him, okay, because the wound is on the back side. So he asked her to turn him. She obeyed him without a word, without telling even a word. Hannah obeyed it and began to wash he began to wash the backside of the man very carefully. You may not wash him, she said. That time Hannah said to her husband, Sadova, that Yumi did not wash. She had not washed the body of this white man. Did you wash him then? Then Sadova understood. It was done by his wife. Okay, then you did it? Sadhu asked, not stopping for a moment. While he asked this, while he was in his conversation, he did not stop his work. He was cleaning his body with his swift, concise. Concise means brief or short. Swift, very fast. Then movements. That means he made fast, small movements of his hands as he cleaned the body of this man. Yes, she said. He did not seem to hear her. Well, while she was telling whatever she was speaking, it seemed that he was not giving attention to Hannah. But she was used to his absorption when he was at work. But she did not care it much, or she did not give much importance to that, because she knew very well that when Sado was engaged in a work, he would be very attentive. He always give his full or total attention in his work when he does the work. She wondered for a moment if it mattered to him what was the body upon which he worked so long as it was for the work he did so excellently. At the same time, Hannah wondered. Hannah was surprised. Hannah thought that Sadhu was not bothered. Now he is not bothered. Whose body it is, who the man it is, who the injured man was. And he was only concerned or bothered about performing his work very well. He is not bothered about anything. He is bothered about doing his work very well. So for that, Hannah was really surprised and she wondered. You will have to give the anesthetic if he needs it, he said. Hey Hannah, if he needs it, you have to give the anesthetic. She repeated blankly. But never have I. I have never done that. How can you do it? It is easy enough, he said impatiently. It is very easy to give anesthetic. It's very easy. You can do it. He was taking out the packing now, and the blood began to flow more quickly. Sadava took out the packing. The wound was packed with the sea moss. He took out that packing. Immediately, the blood started to flow out. Or we can see that the blood was oozing out immediately. He peered into the wound with a bright surgeon's light fastened on his forehead. You can see in the picture also. You see that a light that has been fastened or fixed on his forehead. It's a surgeon's light. With that, he looked into the wound. The bullet is still there. Then he said, oh, the bullet that is there. Still the bullet is there. He stood with a cool interest. Now I wonder how deep this rock wound is. Now I wanted to know how deep this rock wound, that means the wound made with the rock nearby the beach, that I want to see. If it is not so deep, it may be that I can get the bullet. If the bullet is not so deep on his body, I can take out the bullet easily. But I can get the bullet. But the bleeding is not superficial. Superficial means on the surface. But the problem, the bleeding is not on the surface. That means the wound that is so deep. He has lost much blood. This man had lost much blood, Sarah declared. At this moment, looked up and saw her face the color of sulfur. Hannah choked. At this moment, Hannah choked. Choked means she became breathless, or she struggled to breathe. She could not breathe properly after seeing the blood. He looked up and saw her face the color of sulfur. Then Sarah looked up. Then her face, you see that it was turned to the color of sulfur. That means an yellow color was there. Don't faint, he said sharply. Don't faint. Don't be courageous. Be steady. He did not put down his exploring instrument. Even seeing that she was struggling hard, he did not put his instruments or the things that he had down. And he did not put down his exploring instruments. Exploring means examining. The instrument that is used for examining. So he was having his instruments in his hand, but he did not put it down even after seeing the trouble of Hannah. If I stop now, the man will surely die. Then he said, if I stop doing my work or doing the operation, this man will die. He clapped her hands to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room. And immediately she covered her mouth with her hands because she felt like vomiting, and she ran out of the room quickly. Outside in the garden, he heard her retching. Retching means vomiting. Sadhu could hear the sound of Hannah vomiting outside the garden, but he went on with his work. But he continued with his work. Dear students, let me conclude today's class here. I hope all of you understood this part very well. So in order to get the former part of the lesson, I am giving the links in the description box. So please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.